So a lot of people hear me talk about winning and living your dreams and hustling. And a lot of people say, well, Jackson, what's the next step that I do? And so I want to tell you a little bit about my journey, kind of who I am, because a lot of people don't really know who I am and a little bit about me. They just hear me giving advice and giving game, but you don't necessarily know some of the things that I went through and why I say some of the things that I say. So one of the things that I would say as the epicness or to summarize my story is you don't have to get things right. You just got to get things going. And when you put your mission in motion, things are going to start flowing. So meaning you got to take action. You got to position yourself for prosperity. It's all about positioning yourself, because what happens is if you are exposed to something over and over and over again, eventually something's going to happen. You're going to get contaminated and you're going to get results. So you just have to keep exposing yourself. The problem is a lot of people don't expose themselves and put themselves in positions to win. They don't put themselves in a winning environment. It's like they want to win. They're curious about winning, but they're not serious. So I put myself in a position where I had to win. And that's been my journey, honestly, since I left college. And a big part of it started was, my mom kicked me out of the house. I knew it was coming because when she said, when you graduate college, you gone, you're getting out of my house, and she was serious. So I found myself moving to a neighborhood called Hyde Park in Chicago. I had a small studio apartment, $500 a month rent. I didn't even have $500. I didn't have credit. I didn't have nothing, but I convinced the guy who was the landlord, because they were looking for tenants at the time. And I just convinced them that, hey, I didn't even have a job, but I figured out a way to pay this bill. So luckily he had faith to believe in me. Now, when I'm in the studio apartment, the only things that I had was stuff that my mother had given me as a teenager, like stuff over the years. You know how you got birthday presents, you may have a TV, you may have a little bed, you maybe have a little radio, stuff that I got from being a teenager that I just kept. So now that I'm in this new studio apartment with no job, no money, it was time to make a way. And I knew I wanted to succeed. I knew I wanted to do something being independent. I just didn't know what. So the first thing I got tired of, I couldn't find a job. So I started selling the stuff in my house. And so I sold my bed, I sold the TV, I sold the radio, I sold everything I had. I was just selling stuff. I was just selling stuff to get rid of it. And again, I'm already in a small studio apartment. So it was like I didn't need it really anyway, And my philosophy was always I didn't want to get too comfortable living in the house I was in. I believe, comfort is the reason why most people aren't successful, is because they're living within their comfort zone. So I decided to make sure I didn't put myself in a position where I was too comfortable, because I didn't want to get lazy. I know myself. I can get lazy if I'm too comfortable. I believe the enemy of being great is when you're already good and you're comfortable with being good. So I didn't want to be good. I said, I'm going to burn down all of my comfort where I got to win. So that's what I did. So now I'm living in this apartment. I had only a mattress, didn't really have dishes, didn't have internet, didn't even have a computer. But yeah, I'm trying to build a business. This is around like 2008, 2009. I'm trying to build a little network marketing business, and I don't even have the internet or a signal. So I really couldn't even sign people up. So now I'm trying to sell more stuff just so I can get a computer so I can sign people up. What I did is I strategically started developing relationships with people who did have internet, who did have a computer. And I just started being a friend. I say, hey, let's work together. Let me help you build your team and we build together. So that way now I get access to a computer by using this person's computer. All right. And so long story short, with that, it still didn't work out. I did 3 years where I was working, still wasn't making any money. So I don't even remember how I was paying rent. I was like 6 months behind on rent. Landlord was taking me to court. But somehow I was like loaning money from this person to pay that person. Then I loaned some more money from. So I kept on taking out these loans from different people. And so luckily I just had good credit with people because I was just a nice person. And some people was like, man, just keep it, And eventually it got to the point where I finally found this job. and I was working for an International Academy of Design Technology, and I was recruiting people to go to college. And I made more money in that year than I had ever made in my life. It was only about 50 something thousand. Wasn't a lot, but I was a dude that was used to not making anything. So to go from nothing to 50,000 plus in a year, that was big. And plus I was only living in this studio apartment. So I had a lot of extra disposable income. So at that point, I was using the little money I had to just buy like books. I was still reading. You see, I always keep books and things in the back. A lot of these books I wasn't even buying books for full price. I would go to Borders when Borders was closing down, and I was buying the books for like discount, 50% off, 60% off, because I was just trying to get bargain deals, but I knew I wanted the books. So I was buying books, listening to going to the network marketing events, and I was real depressed because I was around all these successful people, but I wasn't successful. So eventually, it got to a point where I said, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do. Because one of the mistakes that I made is every business that I had started over 30 different businesses. They were all just network marketing businesses. You know, when you get a home-based business online and you may be selling vitamin supplements, you're selling cell phones or whatever you selling, it don't matter. You selling websites, advertisement, like I've done it all. All these different network marketing companies, 5 links. I've done many of them. But I got to a point where I realized I wasn't being successful because I really wasn't excited about those businesses. I felt I didn't like them. Like they were cool, but it's not what I really naturally wanted to do. So I started learning more about myself. And I said, let me do what I like to do, the things that I'm into. And that's when I started writing the book. I started, at the time I was also getting into like the hair industry, and I really didn't like hair, but I did like the fact that I got to work with women because I love working with women. I love meeting new business, specifically hairstylists. I love working with stylists. So I'm working with these stylists, and I got into this hair industry, and what was crazy about that was it's expensive to get in. Well, it was to get into the hair business because nobody was doing it at the time. And let me just rewind real quick. So remember I said I was at that job when I was making 50,000. So I had got fired from that job, okay, because the company was closing down. So once they fired me from the job, that same, like 2 days later, my grandmother had died, and I was competing in this international speech contest with a group called Toastmasters. And you can see that actually right there. That's what that is. It's a semifinal speech contest. That was in 2011 when I got fired from that job. And then my grandmother died like 2 days later. So at this point, I pretty much felt like, I don't know what to do. And people was offering me another job the same day. They were like, you can get another job. And I realized I didn't want another job because I said, I believed in myself. Because I said, well, you know what? I've been selling. I made $50,000. That helped me build my confidence. I said, I don't need another job. I said, I'll figure out a way to make this thing happen because I had saved up $5,000 in my bank account. So I'm unemployed for about a year, living off of this little $5,000. And eventually I went to my bank account and the government had took some money out of my account. Boom, I had nothing, like overnight. So now I'm stuck in this position, still in this studio apartment with no money. Not really sure exactly. Like I knew I wanted to be like a speaker. I knew, but I didn't. I just wasn't consistent. I was still lazy. So now I'm in this position where I said, you know what? I got to, I'm reading books, I'm watching tapes, and now I'm getting depressed. I'm depressed because I'm seeing other people that are successful, and I'm not doing it like they were doing it. I'm seeing, I had a lot of people around me that was doing good, like millionaires they were doing decent, and I wasn't really doing anything. But once I got into doing the hair, and all of my people around me told me I shouldn't do it because they weren't familiar with it and no one else was doing it. The industry wasn't what it is now. But I believed that I could do it. I like when people tell me you can't do something, and they told me I couldn't do it. So because of that, I had no money, but I went out and like my mom gave me $150, and then my girlfriend at the time gave me $100. I took that and I sold like some shoes or something for $50, and which was shoes that I wasn't wearing. And before you know it, I took that money, bought me some hair, and I started flipping that hair. And what was crazy is the people I was buying hair from, they were scam artists, so they was taking my money and really they wasn't giving me the money. So now I'm still trying to take out loans. Like it was a lot of negativity. And so eventually I had got in this position where I started doing well in my business, like over time, developing relationships. Now I'm doing my thing, my routine. I'm building business. Money's coming in, a little bit of money, just a little bit, nothing major, very little. But it was enough to the point where I said, well, I'm going to buy a car now because my business requires me to buy a car. I didn't even want to buy a car. But my friend told me, because by the way, I didn't get my first car and really start driving until I was like 29 years old. Because I had got so comfortable with not driving. And my friend, he had a Bentley, and he like, bruh, you need to be driving. You 28 years old, why aren't you driving? I said, man, I'm cool. The bus get me where I need to go. He was like, bruh, you need to get a whip. And I'm like, man, I'm cool. So he convinced me. He almost forced me to get a car. So I didn't have the money, but I said, you know what? Boom, I'm going to set my focus. And in 30 days, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get this car. So that's what I did. I waited to the month of, I ain't going to say the month, but I waited to the first of that month. And I just set a goal and I just started, boom, I'm going to go through these numbers. And I was calling everybody. I launched the business. I didn't work the business. I launched it. What I was doing. And before you know, by the end of the month, I had enough money to buy a nice little used car. So, it wasn't even used. Yeah, it was a used car. But I still took some money out on credit. Long story short, boom, money dried up again. Now I get the car repossessed. So the car gets repossessed. I'm already in the midst of a depression. Of course, my girlfriend had left me. I'm not sure. I got a business where I was doing okay, but the hair business was starting to dry up. This is about maybe 2 years into doing the hair business. Now it's drying up. So now I'm stuck and I'm depressed. I don't know what to do. And honestly, I'm contemplating, suicide, so many things. I wasn't able to really provide for my family like I wanted to. Again, still in this little apartment. And so that's when I just made a decision. And I said, you know what? Let me start writing the book because I like helping people. And I want to at least document, because I had been through so many experiences with so many successful people. Even though I didn't necessarily have the money to show, I have been around so much success. I had so many millionaires, people that was doing closing, $50,000 in a week in their businesses by selling. And I'm right there with them, watching them and on the phone with them. I wasn't making any money, but I'm right there in the mix. So I'm seeing this happen. So I had this very unique experience where at the same time I was working at the Cook County Jail, working with inmates at night. So I'm working with inmates at night, working with millionaires during the day. So it was like, I knew it was possible to get it because I'm seeing people get it every day. So now I started to write a book based on all of the game that I was getting from the people that was in my environment. And then the success that I was getting on my own, that kind of helped me go through my depression stage and my depression phase. And then these hats right here. I started up this hat line as a little test because I got tired of doing what everyone else wanted me to do. And this was the first time in my life I made a decision. I said, I'm going to do something that I want to do, even though it don't make sense. It ain't a lot of money necessarily in hats, but this is a way for me to just be me and be artistic, be creative. Because I was all around all these business people, but honestly, I really was a creative person. I always wanted to be into creativity and music and stuff like that, and audio and film. That's what I went to Columbia for. That's what I went to school for. But yet I had been spending all this time doing all this business stuff. And I'm like, this is probably why I'm not successful, because I'm not doing what I really want to do. So this hats was as a way for me to emotionally heal myself by saying, I'm going to do what the hell I want to do and do something creative. And then I'm going to still do business because I'm going to sell my own hats. So I did that. Didn't necessarily make a lot of money, but I found that it helped me heal myself and get liberated and grow confidence because I saw, hey, I can do something on my own. And so from there, I just started really tuning in. And now it was time to write the book. It was time to start really talking and teaching people based on my real world experience. And so I'm going to talk more about that in part 2. I'm going to get real detail on how I began to overcome. This is right around the time when the car got repossessed, right around the time when, I had been trying to, I'm not eating. I'm making my Hustle God album. From home, I'm doing all my own engineering. It just came from a devastating loss. with my girlfriend, and so and me bouncing back and going through that. So I'm gonna talk about that on part 2 of this video. So make sure you watch part 2.